Hello, you're watching another edition of City Beat. I'm your host, Tamika Keenan-Norman, and we have what I think is a very interesting show for you today. It's a two-segment show. Police Chief James Moore is going to join us a little bit later. If you've read the Rocky Mount Telegram, you've read about the department's latest crime statistics shared from 2015. So he's going to expound on that, as well as how the department is involved in the community. Fire Chief Mike Varnell is coming on a little later to talk about the accomplishments of the Rocky Mount Fire Department within the past year. And I think he's only been at the helm for a year, so he's going to talk a little bit about his experiences as well. So stay tuned. More of City Beat is coming up next. Plus, I've got details on upcoming events. This is City Beat.
Last year, farmers in Nash and Edgecombe counties raised $420 million from selling crops and livestock. Agriculture continues to be of growing importance in the Twin Counties.
If you know that last year over 100,000 folks saw a play, attended a concert, or visited a museum in Nash and Edgecombe counties, give yourself a round of applause.
Know how many babies were born in the Twin Counties last year? My son Carr has 9,100 playmates who were born in Nash and Edgecombe counties last year.
Hello and welcome to City Beat. We are your central source of news and information for the city of Rocky Mount. I'm your host, Tamika Keenan-Norman, and we've got two segments to today's show. We're going to speak a little later with Fire Chief Mike Varnell. And right now we've got Police Chief James Moore with us to talk about a report he actually gave to the Rocky Mount City Council a couple months ago, I think, about the crime stats as well as your department's community engagement efforts. So welcome to City Beat.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you on the show today. I want you to expound a little bit on those crime stats, your department's findings for 2015, because we know we always go to the previous year, right?
Right. Well, I reported to the City Council that in 2015, overall, we had a very good year in reducing crime in the city of Rocky Mount. We had a 15% reduction in property crime, 16% reduction in violent crime, and 16% reduction overall with a combination of property and violent crime.
Okay, so sounds good. How does that relate to crime for 2014? Because I know that you had, that was your year for the lowest number of index crimes, well actually in 35 years that you had. And explain a little bit what index crimes are for those who aren't subject matter experts on this.
Well, index is just a Part 1 crime, the crime that the SBI, State Bureau of Investigation, measures. And that's crimes such as your break-ins, burglaries, your larcenies, your robberies and assaults. Okay. And 2015, it appears that we had a very good year. And the reductions that I gave were in compared to 14. There were the reductions from 14. And 14 was one of the best years that the city's had within the last 35 years. And in 15, we edged that up a notch, and it was the best year or the lowest crime in the city within the last 37 years. Okay.
What do you attribute that to, some of the successes that you've had since you've been with the department, 2012, right? Would you attribute it to community engagement efforts, or is it a mix of different things?
It's a mix of several different things. It's a mix of the policing philosophy that we've brought to the agency and how we engage the community. It's utilizing training and technology and understanding crime and looking at crime trends across the country and reacting to them very quickly.
Speaking of community engagement efforts, I know people should be familiar with Coffee with a Cop and Summer Night Lights, but I think you all started something recently with Coffee with a Cop where you were visiting area churches, right?
Yes, we expanded Coffee with a Cop from the morning time at local restaurants to penetrating churches during the evenings. And that's a series that we've been carrying on for about the past 5 months. We're going to continue that series until the summer, and we usually take a break during the summer months.
And I'd imagine it was really successful with the churches.
Yes, seems to be that we were well received at every church that we went to.
Lunch with a Cop. I think that's something brand new that you've started in February, right?
Yes. Lunch with a Cop is, we looked at the 7 elementary schools within the city limits. And during the lunch periods at the 7 elementary schools, we sent officers out to eat lunch during the entire lunch period with the various groups of elementary school students. And the students enjoyed it, and it was a successful run.
Do you plan on bringing that back?
We don't know. We evaluate our initiatives, and we don't bring back initiatives just because we've done it before. We look at the penetration and look at, can we have an impact in the future on an initiative.
Okay. You talked a little bit about training as well. That's been helping the department too. What's been some of those most successful training efforts that you've implemented since you've been here?
Well, I think when you look at training, it's very important to me. Training all of our people, all of our officers and several of our civilian employees in implicit bias training, I think was one of the landmark decisions. And this past year, we put all of our sworn officers through de-escalation training, which is a buzzword in contemporary lexicon today. And over the years, really focusing on management and executive leadership training.
Okay. Any other goals that you have for 2016, immediate goals for the department?
You know, my goal for 2016 is the same goal I've had for the last 30 years, and that's just to make a difference by enhancing the quality of life.
And we know that there's more progress to be made, but how do you feel thus far about what's been accomplished?
I think we've done a yeoman's job in spite of our circumstances. When I say circumstances, I'm talking about the socioeconomic conditions of the local area as far as unemployment, poverty, and the education system. In spite of that, we've had some outstanding results as a police department in our relationship building with the community.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to add, Chief Moore?
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on City Beat as well, okay?
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in. Also, Fire Chief Mike Varnell is coming in just a few moments to tell us about some of the successes with the fire department. And also, I'll give you some updates on events taking place in the city of Rocky Mount. You're watching City Beat.